Hello, I'm Craig Beedham, aka Gorilla Fitness, and in this video I'm going to show you how to program for yourself. So the main thing that we want to do is to focus on compound movements. So that's movements that include more than one muscle and more than one joint at the same time. So they are more exhausting, but we get more from it. So the main movements that we want to focus on are squatting, hinging, pushing, pulling, and carrying. There's lots of variations within that. So with squatting, we can do multiple different types of squatting. It doesn't just have to be a back squat. It can be a single leg squat, it can be a side lunge or a body weight squat. Lots of different variations on that. Next up, we want to do a hinge movement. So that could be a deadlift, a sumo deadlift, it could be a Romanian deadlift, it could be with a barbell, we can do it with a single leg, we can do it all types of variations. So it doesn't just have to be one type of hinge, but vary that up. Next, we want to do a push. So that could be a bench press, could be any form of pushing. It can be horizontal, it can be vertical, and it can be any angle in between. Again, we can do both arms at the same time. We can use a barbell, we can do body weight, we can use dumbbells, kettlebells. There's lots of different variety, but we need some sort of push in there. Next is a pull. We need a pull movement, any sort of pull movement. Again, we can do vertical, we can do horizontal, or any angle in between, and changing that angle is a really good way to make progression and just keep things changing and interesting. So again, we can use barbells, we can use body weight, we can use kettlebells, dumbbells. There's lots of different variations that we can do, but we want to include some form of pull. Next, we also want to include some sort of carrying movement. So that will train your core. So there's lots of different ways to train your core beyond just carrying. So we can do rotation as well, we can do lateral flexion, we can do spinal flexion, we can do extension. There's lots of different ways that we can train your core, but generally a carry or a core movement, we want to have that in there as well. We also want to include some form of cardio. It can be anything, it can be inside, it can be outside, it can be cycling, it can be walking, it doesn't matter, whatever you enjoy. It can be interval training, it can be low intensity, steady state, it's all good. It depends on what your main goals are as to exactly what would be most beneficial to you. We also want to include some mobility as well, so we want to stay mobile as well as agile from the cardio. We want to make sure that we're doing some mobility training, not just as part of our warm-up, but specifically to increase the range of movement and the strength in the end range of movements that we have as well. Give all that a try. If you're including all of that in your weekly program, then you're going to be pretty good. So with training frequency, this is without being sport specific and excluding elite level athletes. So for most people, training cardio 1 to 2 times per week is enough. That's excluding walking around and general NEAT, so non-exercise activity thermogenesis, movement, that kind of just moving around, any form of movement. This is formal exercise, formal cardio 1 to 2 times per week. Mobility, ideally we want to do that every day. Remember, something is better than nothing. So even if it's just a few minutes of cardio, maybe 5 minutes, it doesn't have to be a full 30-40 minute session or an hour session every single time. Something is better than nothing. With mobility training, with stretching, high frequency is generally good in order to get the most benefit and the best results. With resistance training, again, for most people, without being sport specific and breaking down any muscle groups or anything like that, generally training resistance 2 to 4 times per week is good enough for most people in order to get some really good benefits from that. So give that a try, include all of those things in your training and you'll be magic. Remember to give me a subscribe and a like.